Happy Friday.
How you doing?
Good.
My Grammarly changed my here to here.
What's that?
I was looking at, I was telling Gary I couldn't hear him and stuff and everything, but I typed it in the messages and stuff and it changed here to here, Here.
Ah. Uh, the other Gary, not Gary Norton. Wow, that other community's an interesting one. They go deep. We joined, I didn't know Gary was part of this other community. I joined, it's called AI Exchange, and I just did it because I'm like, I'm gonna test it out. But they're definitely tech and product based. It's interesting.
Yeah, very. It stretches my brain every time I go
Yeah,
in there.
yeah. And Erica reached out to me immediately and booked a coffee chat with me.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like Erica. She's all about the accessibility. I've had several talks with her about like WCAG, the ADA compliance on websites and things like that. So she's got a
She's got a
lot
lot
of
of
great insight.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it was just like, yeah, it's funny going to different communities and just seeing how they're set up. I think she apologized. She says, yeah, that's got a format they're testing and it's a bit awkward on certain things. And like, I didn't care. I was just like, it was just really fascinating to be in that group and kind of, yeah, stretch your mind in a
Yeah.
whole different way.
Everybody's got there's expertise. And so they go really deep.
They do go super deep. I wonder
Can you
what
guys
Gary,
hear me yet?
yeah,
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. I was troubleshooting some things earlier and I was sending some bug reports to a guy with a screen recorder thing, and it had to deal with my microphone. Did you know how I had that microphone chopping out? And apparently some of the debugging stuff was still going on.
hmm,
So
yes.
anyway, thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just gonna share what I created. You guys have you tried Gamma yet? Gamma AI?
Hmm.
I need to. No, I've seen it.
You
I see
need to.
what
I
it's
gotta,
really cool.
it's yeah, so if you look at it, like I'm now just like leaving the presentations in Gamma, but I built it in Gamma AI, and I'll tell you what I did to build this. It was like next to nothing. I went into ChatGPT o1. And I kind of I feel pretty comfortable in like telling AI what I need. So my questions and details are good. And I asked it for a strategy based on all my needs and, worked it out this morning with it in a Word, and I put it in a Word doc. And then I took the Word doc and I threw it into Gamma AI and just said, hey, can you create a PowerPoint out of this? And then that's what you get, is what you see right here. It
That's
just
really
built,
cool.
it just built it all, added all the images, did the layout and everything. So I encourage you to test it out. It's a little bit of a small learning curve and you can be a little bit frustrated with it with some glitches. But yeah, this morning I had one of those, the emoji with your brain blowing up. When I tested it out, I'm just like, oh my God. And then if you view this through desktop and then look at it through mobile, the PowerPoint is like what do you call it? Responsive.
Oh,
So it's
good.
completely
That's
responsive
nice.
and it just yeah, I was kind of blown away by it because I shared it in the school community, and then I thought I'd just click on the link again while I was on my mobile phone. And I'm like, oh my God, it just totally created a layout specific for mobile dynamically. So the world of AI.
That is awesome.
Um, yeah, so hi Colin.
Hey, Colin, welcome.
Hello, hello.
So I think for me, I just like get feedback on the approach, but this is what I'm thinking, and I'm curious what everybody else feels. And do you feel more comfortable if I share my screen, or do you want to just go through the deck on your own side? I'm fine either way.
I like the idea of having you share it. One, for when we put this on the channel for people who look at it later, they can make sure to keep up with us.
Okay, sure. So you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, just to dive right in, I've been thinking about this. I'm going to visit my parents in Arizona, and I'm just getting a lot of like seeing a lot of news. I've been kind of conned by AI, like bad actors, not in a bad way. I'm able to get out of it, but it's getting worse. So I was just kind of thinking, I want to do volunteer work. And I have to keep it, I need to keep it lean because I'm going, a full-time job or whatever. And then what can I do, at least on a monthly basis? And how do we keep it lean? And then the other thing was, the imposter syndrome and I was talking to about this in another chat community of like, who are the right people to educate seniors? They desperately need it. There's not enough there's education, but it's not provided in a way that seniors can digest. You got to go to the seniors. You can't expect them to tune into a webinar or watch a video or go to a website or download an app or anything like that. Like you have to go to them. And I'm thinking specifically to the like they just don't know, right? And so I was kind of thinking, how can we bring together some collective intelligence, like us here to create something that's easy to execute, lower lift, but we're doing it responsibly as well. And I think the responsibly is where I just want to make sure that, on my end, I'm following suit, but I also want to keep it really high level, like, so not go too deep. But, the goal is like if we can help, maybe half a dozen people, like, if I'm responsible for, helping half a dozen people, that's a win for me.
Sure.
And also to encourage conversation amongst themselves, right? To empower them. So, yeah, just that's kind of the goal. I'm just going to see if I can slide the presentation here. Oh, interesting. Oh, there we go. Um, so yeah, I just kind of looked at key issues that it's the surge of deepfake technology, the gap that are among seniors when it comes to their digital literacy, and then also to tackle the emotional and financial association. Because, I think if they're hearing from their friends that have gotten scammed, then there's going to be so much more emotional fear when it comes to using technology and AI as well. So it's just that balance of, you know, identifying those issues and addressing them. And so the idea is definitely education, knowledge about both the good and bad, because I think the goal, and you'll see in the objective, is we want to empower seniors. We don't want to like freak them out. And that's why I didn't want to label it as identifying deep fakes or anything. But I'm thinking like, how can we empower them? So it would be a balance of what's an easy gateway for seniors to use AI that is safe, they can use. So for instance, an example would be I was talking to Erica, the easiest gateway might be Perplexity. Perplexity is this kind of in between Google and ChatGPT, like you can use it for search. So thinking of something like that, or we could introduce the voice, AI, whether it's ChatGPT's advanced voice or other ways that they can engage feel empowered about, engaging AI and how they can use that for good, if that makes sense. So, with Perplexity, they could search a company or share a screenshot of something that they feel is suspect. Um, the advanced voice, they could actually just talk to and say, "Hey, I got this text message," things like that from a positive standpoint, and then get into the protective measures and tips like how do they identify email scams, text scams, and how we can, provide tips on that. Obviously, the phone calls. I do feel based on my, little bit of investigation that lot of more and more have identified the safe word as a strategy, like when they talk to their loved ones, but kind of really needing to figure out like what kind of tips we can, give them. And then, let's see. Yeah, so that's just the objective. I think that I'm thinking, but this is just for feedback. It's not like locked in stone and follow Stacey's path. It's more, I wanted to give something for you guys to react to and say, I think it should be this or that. But I'm kind of thinking that we do want to empower them versus scare them, if that makes sense. Like, um, where it's a balance of understanding, AI um, first, and then use it productively, and then figure out how to protect themselves against bad actors that are using it. And mostly through like lunch and learn sessions. Um, and so the overview is, what do I have here? For us, define our clear goals and outcomes. I have understanding the audience because we really need to understand the audience too. And I'd like to talk with you guys about that as well. Um, and then also, sorry, can you still see my screen, guys?
No, Raj, I need to turn your screen off, bud.
Is my screen sharing now?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, cool. So I would love to have an open discussion about the target audience and kind of we need to understand them more in order to like who is our audience? What communities do we go to? What's the best method of speaking with them and approach? And, then I've kind of created some modules as thought starters. And then last but not least, to discuss, okay, how do we make it easy? Like I said, my goal is to keep it lean for anybody that is interested, but they don't have the time or they don't know where to start, if that makes sense. So, more I talk about this with people, they're like, I would love to join. This is something that I would love to do because of my mother or so and so. But I'm hoping to provide a toolkit, with you guys and, a community to kind of provide that toolkit for others to feel confident to, speak to their communities. However, the caveat is they need to do it responsibly. And that's something I would love to kind of get your input as well, on how to do that, right? You don't want to steer them down a path. And if if somebody wants to educate, then, but they don't feel comfortable, then what path would they take? Would they just facilitate an open discussion between a group of seniors to just have, to just try to get seniors to talk, or do they follow a curriculum like what I'll, following the module that I've outlined? So would love to chat about that with you guys. I could be overthinking the responsibility side of things, but I worked in a tech research firm and they just kind of throw that down on repeat, approach things responsibly. Um, so yeah, it's, I kind of just started putting out who our target audience is. Thinking 55 plus, but I don't really want to really narrow down on a specific age. It's more of a behavior and location and the communities and like, mostly those that just aren't that need to pay attention, who are vulnerable and need that education to protect themselves. So they would have limited awareness and potential skepticism towards the technologies, and so they're not doing anything. And I think a big key is how we speak to them. I think there are organizations out there that do try this. Like I know TELUS in Canada has a senior AI literacy program, but it's through webinars and it's in the TELUS language. And I think we need to figure out a way where we need to meet seniors where they're at and figure out how do we communicate, where do we start when it comes to talking about that. So I'm just about done here. I just have here the modules. You guys can check on the links as well. Like, when I say module, it's just like part one, 5 minutes is an introduction to AI where we can, we're at the community center and we kind of just do the definition of AI and real life examples of it, and then get into the more protective measures and identifying deepfakes and AI scams, and like having interactive exercises if the facility allows projectors or something like that, where an exercise is this fake or is this not? So they can really see how AI has advanced in those areas. And then I think what is crucial is that we need to have a reliable resource and support, like something that we can leave behind for them, if that makes sense. So they can continue and figure out what those resources should be. And currently I'm not thinking it's a one and done necessarily, but at this point in my life, I have access to quite a few different communities. So I'm currently thinking that I wouldn't really be going to the same community over and over again, but possibly that could go down. I kind of want to spread it a little bit wider, with kind of the high level and, just a session to educate them, then go to another one, etc. And I think I'll stop there. I think it's just, and like steps, like collaborate with community centers. Yeah, it's just, I'm a marketer and I'm a strategist, so you have to forgive me with all of these frameworks. I'm sorry, but that's just how I'm wired. It is helpful an approach and whatnot, but anyways, I'll stop sharing there, and I'd for love feedback, but that's just kind of what's in my brain right now. Yeah, Gary.
So first off, amazing work. I love what you put together. It's obvious you put a tremendous amount of time in that. I really appreciate it. I think approaching this from the standpoint of not only the deep fakes and the AI scams, I think it's the great first place to start. But what I think you maybe really hit on here might be a template or a format for multiple topics to go on, because I mean, this isn't the last thing that they're going to need to be taught on. And I think if, we do this smartly and keep that in mind, you could probably come up with a system that could be reapplied to, different ideas as you go in. For example, even concepts like, I know you said you're really established with the communities and how to get this set up and get in. Even if we just documented a process of like how people do that, because a lot of people may not even know. It's like, hey, I really want to do this, but I mean, how do I just like call a guy on the phone? Any type of that kind of information that we could get in here. I think this makes it a little bit more ubiquitous than the deepfake. And I definitely don't want to get away from that. I think though you've got a really good infrastructure here to build on.
Yep, that's all. It's just something to respond to. So I really want holes poked at it, add-ons. I love so Gary, if I just can repeat, you're kind of saying like even to add, like I think of this as a playbook, right?
Mhm.
That we would build a playbook for something like this. And I do love it. You're mentioning how to approach a community. Is that what you mentioned? Like, the
Well,
step.
yeah. So the reason I bring it up is particularly with the over 50 AI group, there are a lot of people who are wanting to get introduced in and move into the AI sphere. But at the same time, a lot of people going in line with your branding seminars are looking to establish their brand. Maybe they want to start their own business, or they just want some more credibility. And so a good first place would be to come in. It's like, well, I don't know everything, but I know enough to teach about this. Maybe I can expand myself a little bit and go out and do these things. Um, did I just lose my picture here? Or something happened.
You did. And
You
I
just
thought,
did a max headroom.
yeah,
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was odd. Um,
that was fun.
Let me turn the video back on because
You're back.
it's so weird. All
It
right.
was repeating. That was funny.
Oh, I'm sure it's well. In I do have fiber coming in a couple weeks. It's finally in my area, so we'll get it. Hopefully, these network issues fixed. But just a starting off point. I think a lot of people want to help. They're just intimidated and don't know where to start.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying add some more material on how to help the volunteer or whoever wants to go out and speak about AI. Is that what you're kind of saying? Like a
Yeah, so maybe it's like after you've done a couple of these, or maybe you already know now, even just providing information. It's like, okay, I'm going to reach out at the local senior center. I mean, what do I need to tell them? Okay, I'd like a room set up with maybe
Yep,
25 chairs in a circular area.
yep,
It would be nice if I had a TV that I could use
yep,
USB to present on.
maybe. Yep,
Um,
yep.
Many people don't have this experience set, and if we could give them like, here's what you need to do, then they could walk in, maybe even something as simple as bringing some pencils for people or some examples. But I could see going into an environment like this, maybe not quite prepared, assuming that there's a TV or some type of thing that you could plug into if you wanted, because I think a lot of this is going to be visual learning for these people as well. So being able to just show them during the
Yep.
process.
Great
Um,
point. Great point.
Along those lines, when I think of the more vulnerable people that tend to be elderly, first of all, you can't just say, watch out for this. You're going to have to explain what to watch out for. And as part of that, you're going to have to explain how these technologies work. You're actually going to be doing an introduction to AI,
Mhm.
and look, and you might start out with, look what these amazing things that you can do, or some people are doing. And then you lead into, and these are how they use those things to convince you that they are somebody they're not, and get you to do things that you don't want to do.
Mhm.
They all know scams and stuff, but that usually when they're told, like I have my whole family trained not to open up suspicious emails, and they call me all the time, and I have to go in and read their emails, and or they might get a text and they're like, I don't know what to do. Call Colin, so a hotline or something would be great ultimately. But also with the age group and the demographic, not just constrained to this, but a lot of them will respond more to a video. And the image I have is a Ken Burns documentary where he usually sits with older. So in this context, if Ken Burns was doing this, he would have parts where he's, the background, but then he has interviews with people and about their story. So over time, you want to collect their stories. And as far as the ultimate media, honestly, I think a YouTube channel or videos that can go on YouTube, Facebook, other places, and you can have a class of videos that's just for people that is the training, but then you can have a version that you have people going out to centers and stuff and presenting along with it. And then so you'd have shorter bits where the person talks and then they show, and that might be, you know, they are the presenter rather than Ken Burns doing the presenting inside the
Mm-hmm.
video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do see video as a strong player too. It's
And even if
kind
it's
of,
not good in the beginning, we'll get better at video, or we'll find someone who can make it look better, or
mm-hmm.
we're not to the
That
point
brings up
yet
a
that
good.
AI is going to make you the best video, but we're getting
Yeah, yeah,
close.
but no, it's good. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing might be is even if you could set up a recording of the event as we go through this, it would be interesting to hear the questions that are asked and the things that really resonate through the interactions so that you could iterate on those or build on them for future
Always.
presentations. Because I do think this is an iterative process that kind of we're still learning about on what might be best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Gary, yeah, in blue shirt. I don't know your last name, Gary.
Sorensen.
Sorensen. Okay, yes.
Gary, by the way, hello. I've seen you on
Hello,
a couple
Gary.
of calls. I've never had a chance to introduce myself. I will say I've gotten confused a few times when people just referred to us.
Yeah, I watch your YouTube videos though, so I
You're
know who
so
you
kind.
are.
Thank you.
The I think I'm coming at this from a different angle, I think maybe because I have been on with my father mostly. I've come from a it's an intense years and years long scamming repair. My dad falls for everything. And so we're talking in the five figures multiple
Any
times.
repeated events, different scams.
Same scam, actually, same scam.
Wow.
And that's one of the things I think that we need to address, depending on the age group, is the cognitive retention. Because they'll go through the same exact steps, and he doesn't remember being there before. And so I can tell him, I can go through and tell him which emails not to open. I can tell him, don't ever allow anybody to ever log into your computer ever. And the next thing I know, well, this was Geek Squad. It's fine. They were Geek Squad. The Geek Squad logo was on the email. And so then it becomes this battle with them. So that's one of the things I was kind of wondering, is what your end goal is it to teach them the AI so that they have a new tool that they can use? Or is it to prepare them to protect themselves, or both? Because the scam thing is, I don't know if you're aware of, like the scam baiters on YouTube, like there's
No.
Scammer Payback and Rick
Yeah.
Browning or Jim Browning, I'm sorry.
Oh, I know Jim Browning. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
watched this thing, and in fact, I think as on a side note, Kevin Tunis reposted a video from Gion about how that's AI automated now.
yeah, so they have all the, and that's the one of the approaches that they take, like Scammer Payback. They get them on the phone, and then and Triad Media does this too. They get them on the phone, and then they work them through, and they ultimately they end up busting them that they're scammers, and stuff like that, and they waste their time. And the problem is that that's great that you wasted one scammer's time, but the problem is there's legion of these people that are doing this,
And they're
and
using AI to do it. So might not even be wasting a human's time. You're just AI's talking to AI.
exactly. And I've showed my dad I've logged into Amazon, and I showed him, watch me take over your computer. And I take over his computer, and then I change the price of paper towel to $17,000. And when they're showing him on his computer that they made an accidental deposit of $10,000, what they're doing is they're blanking out the screen and then using the Chrome developer to go in and change the HTML on the page. It's very easy to do. And so I show him how I can do that all over Amazon, change paper towel to $17,000. And this is what they're doing. And no matter what I show him, it never sticks. So then 6 months, a year down the road, he falls for it again. And he's running to the bank. Now they have mules coming to the house to get the money. It's no longer gift cards. So, and so he had a mysterious
Yeah, that
visitor.
started a few years ago.
Yeah. So
My
this
mom
whole
was I went through several years with my mom too. Uh, they even got to the point of threatening their life.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They got
It's
complete dedicated call centers.
yeah.
Well, Gary, I see the need. I'm not sure of an approach that would apply with, yeah, I mean, you can only do so much to get through to someone, you know. Sometimes you just have to accept that isn't a doable
Mhm.
situation, but you want to do your best to cover it as well as you can. So I think it's worth attempting. But you
It
know,
might not always
with
be
you and your father,
advantageous to.
I don't even have a suggestion if you've gone. I
Hello,
think you've done everything further than anyone else could expect, and if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Short of taking away the devices.
Yeah. We've had to go through, and
Here's
that's
your
what we said.
here's your TV remote. You're on TV again.
Right. But like I think when I was talking about this in the conversation before in the group, we were talking about it where I never thought parental control would be for my parents instead of my kids. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting into that as well. Interesting. Yeah, it's tough that we probably won't be able to reach, all of them. And I'm wondering, like, okay, then it's going back to the audience, right? And uh, Colin, you mentioned video, and I thought that was interesting. But I'm thinking we also need to equip with if we just, they might even have a computer screen where we can, um, uh, you know, share like, and then we got to figure out, well, there's paper handouts or something like that. So I think it's, that's another thing to add on, Gary Norton, we were saying like, we need to, make sure we have the room set up properly. How do
I got
we,
the boo.
continue? I don't know who this
I
person
got
is.
the boo.
Can you kick them off and block your room, Gary?
Yeah, I need to here. I've never really actually had to block somebody, so I just won't allow them back in. So
Yeah.
Make
So
it turn on requiring your approval and kick them out and then turn that on. And at least they only annoy you if they keep trying.
yeah, they're out now. So
Um, yeah, and that's another thing is format. Like video is good, so we can, and I'm thinking like if we keep this lean too, is that there's good videos out there. So it's almost like there's going to be a lot of sources of information that is coming from that'll be engaging enough for seniors that we can share, that we don't have to be bogged down with creating it ourselves. So it's almost like, what resources can we use to share with them there? Like for instance, I know you guys probably tested a few of those out where they have an image and it's just like, is it deep fake or is it real? Like if we find a good one, we could, share that as well, and that'd be an interactive exercise. We can create videos, as you said, Colin. I don't have the setup personally. I'm, but also I'm thinking there has to be content out there that could be in the style that you're thinking that we could share with them. But I agree. It really is about the intro because the intro of making sure they know what AI is, and maybe have that open conversation. So I'm thinking, the intro is just ask them like, do you know what AI is? And have, an open discussion with that and then define it. I, my question is how do we approach that with seniors? I instantly go with that circle of like artificial intelligence, then machine learning, then deep learning, then Gen AI. That's how my mind works, right? And you can explain all the things, but that's too complicated for them.
That's a technical description, not a description that
Exactly.
matches their worldview.
Exactly. So I
Uh,
think that is something that we'll have
It,
to create for
they don't
uh,
need to understand how this works. You just show them, to them, it's magic. So you show them this magic trick. I can make you talk and different words come out, or I
mhm.
can show this type of magic trick and just say, these are the magic tricks out there.
and
And
also not only
and
educating the
this is
seniors,
how you often see them used to trick you.
Got
not
it.
only educating the seniors, but also educating the caretakers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
And the bankers too, because the
Oh,
bankers are
yeah.
also they're the ones that are the gatekeeper to the money. And when I was debating with the bank, arguing with the bank, don't let him get his money. He's being scammed. And the teller was saying, we just have to, he's the customer. I have to let him do whatever he wants. So even educating that line to
So
prevent
Gary,
this
what do
too.
you do when the banker used to work, the bank president used to work for your family, and she goes in there and she demands that the money, and even when I tried to stop it, you couldn't do it. I
Yeah,
couldn't do it. Yeah,
there's no stopping it.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. No, that's true. I
So
think, oh, go ahead. There's
so you
somebody.
talked about the skills for like doing video and stuff. Just use AI to create the scripts. We're gathering all the data. Just come
Mhm.
up with some AI generated stuff. And at some point, somewhere in the community, you'll find, well, Gary's comfortable in front of a camera and can create the videos.
Mhm.
And then as you get people going out to volunteer and do these, they're gonna, like we said, record those and see if they can find people to do interviews with. Because interviews are simple enough to do if you know, just show people how to do it. I don't know if you want to go as far as putting together kits or something that they can borrow and do interviews and stuff. Ultimately, down the road, who knows?
Stacey, is
Yeah.
your vision
But but
to ha
but with
the,
AI, we can create bad versions and then get to the point where someone can make a good version out of it.
the
Yep.
minimal viable presentation?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Yeah, that's me. I want to keep it like the thing is that we're all pretty busy and I don't want to create a barrier. That's the thing is like it's going to be, reduce the barrier because I think at the end of the day the goal is we want seniors to keep this top of mind for them, to start having this discussion and kind of empower them enough to have conversations with each other. And then also the community center, impress those people enough, or engage them enough to have more events and more discussions around it. So in the other community, they said like, eventually you could reach your libraries, right? If you feel comfortable enough, go to your local library. A lot of seniors go there. Churches in my area where my parents grew up, lived in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of churches there, and that's where a lot of seniors, kind of have events there and community centers that way. Um, so I think the biggest thing is I just want them to have conversations around it and share their stories because they can learn from each other. So that's kind of the biggest thing is just, they're, we're so tied in and glued into this and we know how to protect ourselves. But I think, like I said, it's just having those open conversations. And I just don't think these centers are having them as often as they should. So, um, but,
And
uh, sorry, Colin.
No, I'm the one interrupting. Sorry. Um, all the people that you talked about, though, at the centers and stuff, in a way, you're trying to recruit them to do this. We're trying to have a
Yep,
program that
yep. I can
they
tell.
can pick up and be, the front line people. You know,
Yep.
how many are we going to go to at, just a group of us? We might do a few. We're not necessarily committed to do one a week for all year long or
Yep.
anything like that. But if you can find someone in a community-oriented system, libraries, community centers, things like that, then when you go, you're gonna be looking for someone that can pick it up and do more of them.
One of the things, Stacey, I think if when we're when we're talking about that, I think the video comes into play with the community centers because that's kind of like a marketing video. Showing them what's possible. But then the other thing, I'm kind of picking up the. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of picking up the vibe that you're making a kit, like a presentation kit. And so
Yep.
in a way that then what you're doing is you're also picking up a brand, and then anybody who's going to present under your brand with using your kit, they have to sign on to the mission as well, so that they're not going taking your material and going off on some tangent somewhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, you're going. I guess the one thing is that my goal is to not have the brand myself. You know what I mean? Like it's not like something that I'm like, this is branded with whatever logo or anything like that. I'm not, that's not a priority for me. It's the priority I'm sticking to is I want to do this. I am going to do this, even if it's my on my own. But because I have such a fantastic community, if you guys like are there other people that are empowered and want to do this as well? So can we help each other on, do this? So yes, it's a kit, but I'm not looking at this as a business opportunity by any means. It's more of like making it easy for those that don't know where to start
Mhm.
and then give them like Gary Norton made a great suggestion. It's just like I know instinctively how to approach a community center or whatever, but maybe other people don't. And it's like that's why I'm connecting with you guys. Like there's things that I may not be aware of that, if we want to provide a kit for people to use, what's missing? What do they need to know? And I think there will be, I think there's certain things that we won't be able to tackle, like, and your point, like with your father, it's just like, well, we probably won't be able to tackle a situation like that where, cognitive issues and my mother-in-law is the same way. Um, but with those that we can, I think that's the goal. And another thing is keep it super lean, make it easy for anybody that wants to get involved. And then, if they are successful, then they can come back to this community and we can brainstorm and whatever, or they can take it to the next level. I honestly think like, okay, if I'm going to look in the mirror, what am I getting out of this? Well, I'm going to feel good because I'm paying it forward, but it's also something for my brand. It's I've done my personal branding. This fits what I want to do and it raises my personal brand. So for others who are wanting to raise their personal brand, a good way is giving back, right? In that way, that's where you will start getting noticed and I just think there's a major gap in this area because, I just do. I just think that, because they're like, well, I can't get paid for this. Why should I do it? So I think businesses do need to step up, but they don't. If you do want to monetize this, we can add a kit and say, go to local businesses who will sponsor events like this, right? I don't really have much. Yeah, my goal is purely just uh, community like driven and volunteer based, but I'm happy to work with a group to kind of provide that toolkit, and we can build on it as we see fit.
The only reason I was bringing that up, not necessarily as a business model, but
Yeah,
if your name is going to be on it at all,
yeah,
then
but
having
yeah,
people that you don't
liability.
control with that name,
Yep.
I think that's why.
I don't, no, my name won't be on it. I don't want my name on it because yeah, that makes that I'm really nervous about that. You know, I don't want
Well,
it to be tied back. I
you
think and
you're okay
whoever
with your
is
name being on the ones you physically do yourself because you
correct.
are
White
representing
label. This
yourself.
is just white label. Yep.
Right.
But
White
if
label,
you're
yeah.
creating a kit that others use, there's going to be some level of reputation that you're going to build giving that kit out. So you do need some form of entity, whether it's a pub, a nonprofit or something.
Mhm.
And it does, you don't have to begin with, oh, getting a full nonprofit from the IRS and all that. We're just a group of people. We'll probably come up with a name. The kit will be provided by this quote nebulous
Mhm.
group of us, but
Mhm.
but I see what Gary's saying.
Yep.
If you have a product, someone's selling the product, or even if you're giving it away, who is it? And we don't want it to be any of us individually, but it could be us as a group. However, and that's to be decided later.
I think that's just, oh, sorry.
I think maybe the way that the release could happen could be twofold. One, come up with the structure, release the structure under, like a OpenBSD or an MIT license, and then
Licensing.
any content you do release under the Creative Commons. That way, it's there for people to use as they want, but I think it severs any type of liability that could track back to you, which if I understand you right, Stacey, and it's kind of the way I want is I don't need the credit. I just don't want the liability.
That's exactly it. I don't
And
need
if
the
I can
credit.
present, I'm happy to represent myself, but everybody
Yeah.
else, buyer
Well,
beware.
I think I
and
have to trust that whoever is going to use that, and we're going to, get feedback. It's not going to just be me. Whoever's using this toolkit, and if they end up getting a media hit out of it in their local community, they may just say, I'm part of this fantastic community, AI over 50 or wherever, and, do a nod to that. Um, that's fine by me, but there will be others who are, will use it and capitalize on it, and maybe they will make money doing this and getting sponsors. And okay, but to your point, Gary, you made a really great point, Creative Commons, and that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Um, yeah, just keep it lean, but create a toolkit and make it easy for. I just know there's a lot of passionate people in the community that are thinking about this, and we all have parents that are, and loved ones that need this. So yeah.
I think
Hi,
it follows
Brittany.
the PLR model.
Pardon?
I think it follows the PLR model. The
PLR. Sorry, I
the
don't know
P
that acronym.
that's what it's PLR is the private label rights
Oh,
where
okay.
you can do master resale rights. The PLR is a really big um it's if you're in content generation, then PLR packages. You can
Mm-hmm.
buy all sorts of PLR packages in marketing and business and stuff like that. So it's a pretty standard library or method.
Yeah, yeah. And so, like I said, like I'm going to try to gain my, raise my brand, uh, regardless. And I know from a marketing perspective, this is a really it's a good way if you do it right to raise your brand and if you want to be recognized, as a thought leader in the space is doing nonprofit work related stuff, right? So, but at the same time, when I was talking to Erica, like I think to be honest, I you got 30% dedicated to your work, 30% dedicated to your family, and maybe 30% dedicated to this or less. So I'm also want to think about that. I don't want to overcomplicate this because if you do make it complicated, then the success rate, will reduce because life gets busy. So it's how can we, like it doesn't need to be flashy. I don't think seniors expect that. We don't need to go in there like some big telecom company or insurance company. Like, I just don't see it being, it's just sparking communication and sharing what we know responsibly.
So using slides, like a slide presentation.
I think so, but we have to be prepared that not every, we got to be prepared that not every establishment will have, a monitor or something. But yes, we would have something like that. I like the idea of having a video as well, whether we create it ourselves or it's, something that's existing that expresses exactly, what we want to share. Yeah, that's part of the toolkit, right? Like, so if you are going to a community and they don't have, any screens and you can't hook up your laptop, then, what do you do? Do you use QR codes and drive them, that they can look at? How, it's just modifying the approach, or is it just this, you just facilitate a conversation and discuss, or, you have an iPad you pass around or something. So those are things that, I would love to, kind of just document and, provide a toolkit to help those, in different environments. Hi, Bernie.
Yeah, Stacey, I, and let me tell you what works for age-friendly groups over here. I work with Ireland has this thing, a funded entity called Sláinte Care. It means like health care or community. I don't know what the word Sláinte means. It's normally a greeting. Anyway, so we take a museum in a box to people. So we take artifacts, which we know the local visit place we're going to visit would find interesting. They would recognize something in the box. And normally they're plastic see-through boxes and they're conversation pieces. So that has nothing to do probably with what you're trying to pitch exactly, but it does have some relevance to how you're going to show something on a screen, on a slide deck. People enjoy the reveal that comes in the box. Secondly, I'm going to a five-star hotel in Berlin at the end of the month, and I'm giving a full day overbooked AI for educators workshop. And that hotel, the Intercontinental Hotel in Berlin, actually has a breakout room where if you want to book it, you can get their creativity boxes. So it's whatever you want to put in them. And they have all these things that are objects. And every object would have a story if you were the storyteller. But the point is, most older people find very disarming an object that they can hold or a box that they can open. And if it was Stacy in the box, it'd be kind of fun. Saying, lads, today what we're going to talk about is what is in that box that's ahead of you. And when you open it up, it's like Pandora's box, but not a scary one. Here, let's open the box. Can you find the pink star? It has something on the back of the star. So your entire presentation would be object oriented, and the people, would actually discover the object, finger it, and then if you did it right, the object would have a Google Lens identity. So if they wanted to take it into step two, they could open their phone and you teach them how to do reverse image lookup or a Google Lens lookup. And then that could lead into a story where that object is actually on a web page with 5 main points, but all starts with a box. And if you want, everybody takes home a memory box of the things as small paper cutouts that they can say, yeah, Stacey was talking to us about stuff. Don't remember most of it, but she gave me the box of things to take home. So you could do that, and it could be a simple cardboard box. You can mock them up on Canva. They have a template that you can produce your box. Krispy Kreme Donuts in Ireland sells the flats, like for $3, $6, $12. They're all flat boxes, but they're simple model of
Yeah.
it's a print job with a printer that has 220 gram or thicker paper. So you can make paper boxes as opposed to cardboard boxes. But those metaphors work, and based on having intergenerational conversations with older people in Ireland. There you
Yeah,
are.
no, that's an
Those are cool
interesting. I
ideas.
like
Thanks, Bernie.
that.
Yeah.
I like that. What I like that idea. It sparked a couple ideas. Like the way my mind is working right now is I don't like I see it as like a step-by-step process, and I know
Mhm.
we're bringing up all these like, oh, what about this in the format? And I'm thinking it's almost like a checklist, like I'm sorry, I'm learning machine learning right now, so I've got decision trees on my mind right now, building models. But I'm thinking, like, Gary, you say when we reach out to the community center or whatever, it's like, hey, I'm interested in doing this, and we could write like you know, ha- what to say and, kind of engage with them to get them to buy into it. But then we have like, okay, do you have a TV monitor? How do you usually run your communities? And then we cater, and then we would then map it accordingly, right? So it's not, like I said, what am I saying? If there's no technology whatsoever, then I would go to the community center and say, do we have access to your printer? Because we don't want to, unless I don't really want to pay for going to a stationary print shop to, print a bunch of copies. It shouldn't really come at an expense to us. Another thing, are you serving coffee and tea? That sort of thing, because it is beneficial to these community centers because they are already having events, right? We're filling the content. So I'm not so worried about when we reach out to them, like trying to pitch them and get them to buy into it. I think we do need to kind of validate our credentials, and we can add that to the toolkit as well. But um, I have a feeling a lot of organizations or community centers are going to go, yes, please come because we are lacking content, if that makes sense. And then it's just a checklist. Do you have a monitor? No. Okay. Then that means we're going to go down the route of potentially printouts and maybe a QR code. And we'll also ask, well, does do the people in your community have mobile phones? Most likely, will they be bringing their mobile phones? So it's just this little checklist that we can go through that would prepare us for each unique event, if that makes sense.
Can I ask I'm trying to picture community. I've all these
Mhm.
images are flashing through senior centers and are they residents or are they community centers where it's like a neighborhood type recreation center or something
I,
like that?
I think yes. So, think about a church. Like, I don't know, for me, churches are big community centers, right? They have events there. The libraries, senior communities, but there's senior communities where they're still relative, like, it's not, it is a retirement senior community, but they're still pretty lively. Like, we're not talking to, like, say, my mother-in-law who, you know, right now, we're kind of in charge of her banking, right? Um, so I think it's that retirement home where people, the seniors, they have events, they're still very active, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't see it either as like an assisted living type
No.
center or a rest home center. Here in Utah, every town has they're called senior centers, and they usually hold 2 to 3 activities a week that are just open engagement where people come to, and they do these type of things, presentations. They're basically things that let people get out of the house, go to kind of socialize a little bit. Sometimes they're games, sometimes it's a musician, or other times they're educational like this. But at least around me, every town has one, and they're always doing stuff. And I agree with Stacey in that they are starved for content.
Yeah, very starved. So there won't be a barrier there. I think it's more about, preparing us well when we connect with that community on like making sure that we're able to be successful by checking all the boxes there that we have everything that we need. But yeah, keep it lean because to be honest, I don't think they really have really fancy events. And I would say we'd focus mostly on um, centers that are used to something like this. Like I wouldn't go to a Legion Hall or something like that where they go and play cards every, Friday and this is an outlier. It would be to places where this is kind of a regular thing where people come in and present.
So, Stacey, you mentioned that you're going soon,
In December.
weeks or less, yeah, to go see your parents out there. Do you kind of already have the curriculum planned on what you're going to fill in? Have you done more than what you've shown here, or just how deep into the process are you?
So, no, this is what you got, but I don't really see it as so I'll tell you, it's Friendly Acres in Yuma, Arizona. So it's a community 50 plus. And I spoke to the park. Um, she's a community organizer there, and I didn't even have to say very much. She's going, "Yes, please come." So, like I said, I don't think there's going to be a big barrier. They're looking for content, and she said, "Why don't I just slot you in at 9:30 on this date? It's
Before you change
right
your
when."
mind.
Yeah, she slotted me in and she said, there's coffee and donuts happening and it'd be a great compliment to, coffee and donuts that's already scheduled. So I think you do have to look for, especially when you start this, to, look for communities where it's really easy to, if you're nervous about presenting, then it's like, well, like a coffee and donut thing and just have an open discussion. So my format is Donna is my contact there, and she's going to put flyers up. And I'm going to, just send her a QR code. And it's going to go to a form where if they want to engage and ask questions, so I can be prepared about, what their knowledge is and what they'd like to learn. If there's a monitor there, then I'll present some video. If there isn't, I'm going to be agile and I'm just going to open the discussion, like discuss what AI is, ask them how they're using safety, how are they protecting themselves. But I think the key thing is making sure they have resources at the end. So I'm really keeping it flexible right now. But yeah, if they have a monitor that I can present, then I'm going to be presenting some video that I'm going to find online. I'm going to keep it, there's not going to be any bells and whistles. It's going to be very informal because I think that's going to make it more comfortable for them, to be honest.
Have you done anything like this before?
Yeah, that's why it's a little bit easy. Like I'm not,
Well,
yeah,
actually, I didn't expect you to say yes, but
yeah. Well, not,
the point I'm getting at is you gain through experience, but you can also sit through other presentations to gain the
mhm,
experience and make contacts with people who already do this and
mhm,
ask them what works, what doesn't work, what do you
mhm,
wish you had, and maybe
mhm.
you end up partnering with them and helping them, or you find partners and you might show up and do the presentation ultimately, but then hand it over to someone who's already doing presentations. So
That's a good point, Colin, that they may already
I
have
don't want us
some.
all just thinking, oh, this is something that's needed and we want to do good in the world with no
Hmm.
experience in what the world really needs.
Hmm. Yeah. Can you explain that a bit more? Sorry.
Good
Just
intentions.
good intentions. Yeah. Yeah.
If you seek experience, you'll learn from the
Hmm.
people who have the experience.
Yeah.
If you just do
Yeah.
it on your own, you're going to make every mistake possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So, but I agree. The approach you're taking is very light-handed, and your expectations aren't super high. You don't know what to expect, but you
no,
you
you got
gain
to
the
start.
experience,
Yeah.
you know.
You got to start small and then you got to like to be honest, I know seniors, but I don't, in this environment, I think this is a test right? To kind of see what works. So I'm going to keep it simple and make sure I'm agile enough, and then figure out how to scale. I'm not, yeah, like I said, I think you can keep it small and do this once a month, and you could build your personal brand in the space. Like I said, I would like, I want to take photos of myself with seniors and saying we're learning AI, and I can post that on my social media. Like that's a huge bonus, and that'll be great. And in my quest to work at an organization, you like that if you're looking for a job, they love volunteer people that do volunteer work, right? So that's another reason to get into it. So anyways, I know we're at time here, but yeah, I think the next steps for me, if you guys are still interested in going further, like December 23rd, I will be the guinea pig on doing this. That's my the event. But I think it's for me, it's the module, the slide on like what are you presenting each time. And then I think the second thing is like a checklist of, what type of communities, how do you reach out to them for those that need uh, the know-how and how to approach reaching a community. I feel pretty comfortable, so I'm not really worried about that. I pick up the phone and I'll call anybody. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any.
One quick question before we leave is, um, in building out courses and stuff like that and memberships, one of the things, the first rules is to define your outcome. When you're finished with this meeting, when you're finished with this coffee and donuts, you will be able to.
Yes. You're talking like what the outcome is for the seniors?
Yeah, this particular, even if it's just this particular session.
Yeah.
When
Uh, this outcome, they will have resources that they can go to learn more. They will know, they will have a resources for future. They will have a document and tips on how to protect them now for various ways. Like here's a cheat sheet on email protection, phone. And I was also thinking of like when, join a community. I don't know if, I gotta think about that a bit more because do we want like a swarm of people joining Gary's community? They're just
yes,
wanting tech
Gary.
support. That
As
just
long
want
as
tech
they
support. So
participate, they're
I don't
welcome.
know about that. I don't think I'm gonna do that, but
AI
but
over 50, they qualify.
yeah, but I think it's like they'll have a toolkit. I think a goal is they'll have a toolkit. Another goal is they feel empowered to have more conversations like this with their loved ones and their peers. So it's that empowerment feeling in a way, like, they can do something about it. Bernie.
Yeah, I was going to show you something, but I can't share. So just wanted to
You should
mention
be able to
here.
share now.
Now I got it now. Okay, let me show you. You're in Canada, right?
Toronto.
Okay, but you're going to Yuma.
My parents
Okay.
winter there. Yeah.
All right, I could do this off channel with you, but just to let you know, if you wanted to connect to a paid program, we work with Durham in Ontario, and these are things which you could bottle your stuff into one of these many paid. So I'll deal with you. I'll send it to you. I'll stick it into the chat. The deadlines are in February 2025, and this is a funding channel which you might be interested in going
Oh,
down. I can help
interesting.
you
Yeah.
with it. So I'll send it to you in the on the inside the school area. But um, you're talking about doing something that someone would pay 30 to 60,000 euro a year for in Europe. That's the project. So the minimum project's 30,000. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want that. You'd want a 60,000 euro project. It's not all your money, but you could be funded to come and go to Europe a couple times a year. They fly you subsistence, hotel, plus you develop your workshop, or you do the PLR method, Creative Commons method, and we share our syllabus with you. Interesting. The thing what you're describing is a European funded program with a
Yeah.
long reach of collaboration
Exactly.
partner. You could easily transplant your idea to 6 different countries that I know of right now. So
Yeah. And I
every two
see,
months you'd be in another. you know.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bernie. And I have friends that are telling
Mm.
me that I could get funding within Canada as well. And I'm
Yep.
like, great. But I'm like, and I love that. But right, the way that I'm thinking
Mm.
right now is let's just see,
I
like
know.
let's do some little, like I'm all about testing and seeing if it
Yeah.
sticks because
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to put time and energy and make plans for 5 years if I'm like not sure. And in this world right now, things are changing at a
Mm.
drop of a hat.
No,
So
no. But I mean,
yeah.
what I'm hearing, I'm telling you, what you described will work. It will.
Okay.
So it's just a
Awesome.
matter of like to add on to several other people have made comments at the end of the first successful coffee sharing app opportunity. What's next? You know, this is a possibility. So I'll send you the details. I'd be
Yeah,
willing to
no,
work
I
with you
love
on
it.
it. You know, you'd have to subject yourself to a 4-day trip to Ireland. Someone else would pay for it.
Oh my gosh.
You'd be in
That
front of
sounds like
people who
heaven.
would be, you'd be in front of leprechauns and older people, and they would just be marveled.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
You,
I do see the potential, and I see the
yeah,
potential for each of you guys as
yeah,
well. If this is
yeah.
something that you guys want to do, right? Like you can go and seek funding, you can get, paid sponsors because they'll eat this up because they understand that as a corporate, like seniors and people, the general people just don't listen to brands. Like why do I listen to you? They're skeptical, but they will listen to people that can connect with them in a meaningful, authentic way. So I think there's potential for anybody that would come
Mm.
and volunteer for this in their community and get the sponsorship. And yeah, I don't know. I'll stop there
Good, good,
because
good.
yeah. Anyways, thanks guys. I will send some follow-up steps, but I think the big thing right now for me is like filling those modules and kind of wondering how do we start that education? Like how do we describe AI and then the tips for deep fakes and cheat sheets and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on next.
I think you need to identify what you need to take with you for this trip,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
we can
Hmm.
focus on fleshing all that out.
Yeah,
And
it's
with
the
AI,
presentation.
we can use AI to flesh a lot of it out. I mean, like when I was talking about an interview with what is it?
Kim, Kimber.
OpenAI, what the
Oh,
notebook or whatever it is. We put together a podcast, discussing that. That's halfway there to what I was
that's
saying.
super cool. Yeah, I will. I'll call Donna and I'll see what the setup is. But yeah, I'll come back to you because like I said, we might as well just build it based on, my first event and then go from there. Cool. You guys are just fantastic. That's all I can say with your feedback. And, I didn't think I would get this interest. And I love the fact that I just reached out and you guys said, sure, let's do this.
You're amazing for setting this up. So thank you so much, Stacey. And everybody, thanks for joining. Bernie, this is, I think, the first time you've been on a community call. It's nice to have you. As you can tell,
Yeah.
Bernie's an extremely valuable member. He's
He
over in
is,
Ireland teaching,
he
Yeah.
is, he's got a lot of
instructing.
wealth of knowledge in the education
You're,
system.
you're using Designer, aren't you, Stacy?
No, I'm using Gamma. You should test it out,
Okay.
Bernie.
Yeah, no,
It's Gamma AI.
Designer will do your worksheets if you want that. And the other, do you know crickets? You know, you
No,
know
I'll
this,
have to,
you know the cricket machines.
Yes.
I think
okay.
it's cricket, like yeah,
The
cricket.
things that cut paper?
Yeah, paper, wood. But I mean,
Yeah,
like I could
vinyl.
see, like if you iterate this, Chase, you'd be carrying your cricket with you. And the seniors would love creating stuff with, wow, they take the object they found online and now they're making it as a piece of wood and taking it home and hanging it on the wall. I mean,
Ah,
they love doing that.
I could probably
okay.
But
make money doing 3D printing at
yeah, it's very
senior
lightweight
centers.
printing. Yeah, no, you'd be making Christmas ornaments for them, for example, and they would love it. Now it's a heavy machine, so maybe you give the machine to every center you go to, so you want to carry it with you.
That'd be
But you'd have to
hilarious.
know the
So
skills. You'd
this
have to
is
have
bait
your
to get them to come in for
uh,
the
yeah.
knowledge, right?
Oh
No, it's
yeah.
the cookie and donuts.
Yeah. No, I mean you're onto something. Stick with don't follow all
Thank you. That
we're
means a lot. That means a lot coming from you, Bernie. I know you're in
we're
the education
spitballing.
field.
We're spitballing this stuff, so stay on focus. Jesus.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. You
Thanks,
have a
everyone.
wonderful weekend.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Okay, see ya.
See you guys. Take care.